It's been called the Domestic Peace Corps. It's VISTA, and its connection to Austin Metropolitan Ministries is our subject for today's edition of Austin Faith Dialogue. Please join us.
Austin Faith Dialogue, at the crossroads of religion and life, a series highlighting the cultural and social interactions between the worshiping and religious communities in and around the capital city. Austin Faith Dialogue is brought to you by the Austin Metropolitan Ministries in cooperation with KXAN. Join us now in Austin Faith Dialogue.
Welcome to Austin Faith Dialogue. I'm Richard Thompson of Austin Metropolitan Ministries. And we're particularly delighted today to bring to the fore something that is coordinated through AMM that is known nationwide as VISTA. It has been called the Domestic Peace Corps. It's part of AmeriCorps. It's public service throughout the nation that is often connected to those aspects of the religious community that are in social services, which is AMM's purpose in many ways. To help us to appreciate that, we have two VISTA workers with us. The first is the director and coordinator of a number of the other VISTAs, and that is T. Hoy. And we also have Liz Tillotson, who is the program developer for the organization. And would like to have a little bit of feedback. First of all, T, you have been in VISTA a year before you came to Austin.
Yes.
And now you're doing this work of, well, I guess what, about 14 different VISTAs you're overseeing?
Yes, 14 different VISTA. They're all national recruits, and they're pretty much from all over the country.
Okay. And whereabouts are you from?
I'm from Houston. I was sent to San Marcos to do a year of VISTA, working with the mentally ill in a day center. And then after that, I chose to do another year, so I signed up, and I was sent to Austin to be a VISTA leader, where I coordinate a VISTA project that has more than 8 VISTA in it.
Okay. So Austin Metropolitan Ministries is just one of several organizations that have these VISTA workers attached to it. Is that correct?
Yes. Within Austin, there are a lot, maybe 5 or 6 different projects, and
right.
So it just depend on the city and what organizations apply for VISTA.
You gave me before the program a list of these other agencies. City of Austin itself, Health and Human Services, has VISTA workers.
Yes.
Region 13 Education Service Center, Foundation for the Homeless, HOBO, Legal Aid for the Homeless, Texas Homeless Network, obviously many homeless related agencies, Travis County Housing Authority, and the Corporation for Affordable Housing.
Yes.
Well, I think that as we get further into the program, we'll be able to pick up on more of exactly what these workers are doing. But one worker that's doing something here with AMM is Liz. Tell us a little bit about what your task is.
With AMM, I was recruited as a resource developer. And initially, when I first came to Austin, a project was already in the works for a large fundraiser. It was the Walking the Walk fundraiser. And right now, I'm working on writing grants from different foundations, asking them for funding.
Okay, so it's a funding kind of resource that you're dealing with. And but, by the way, Walking the Walk was something that we featured back in the fall as an AMM activity, and that put you in touch with a number of the congregations in town, didn't it?
Yes, we were able to have 35 different congregations represented at the walk. Each of them sponsored a team where they had individuals from their congregation come out and walk to raise money for AMM and its programs.
And that, as I recall, the upshot of that was not only did it help from a funding standpoint, but from a fellowship standpoint, relationships and friendships that came out of that.
The day of the event was wonderful. All 35 different separate congregations came out, and there was entertainment, different types of music, even a magician throughout the day. And the walk was an 8-hour walk. And
an 8-hour walk? Is that right?
It was split up. That's how they did it with their
Aha.
teams.
One person didn't have to go
No.
all 8 hours. Okay.
No.
Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah.
Next year we'll be more willing to volunteer if we know it's limited.
Actually, it has been approved for a second year, so we will have a second annual Walking the Walk. And we have cut the hours down to 4 instead of 8.
I see. Well, T, let's go back to the picture of Vista as a whole.
All right.
I hear the word Vista, not only volunteers in service to America. I think of what that suggests as far as having the broad picture, kind of like you're standing on the edge of the Grand Canyon, what a vista that is. And whether that may have been intentional in terms of helping open up people's opportunities and vision of what they can become and be. Is that something that sort of ties all of these different activities together, do you think?
Yes, I think so, because being a Vista, you can expand so much by becoming a volunteer, becoming a Vista, because I mean you work with the low income and poverty population, and you can go anywhere within the United States. You can choose to be relocated anywhere, and at the same time, I think that when you are a Vista, a lot of us, well, especially me, I'm speaking for myself. I just finished with college. I wanted a transitional sort of period where I didn't really want to go work and I didn't want to go back to school yet. So, and I didn't have any experience in the work area. So by becoming a Vista, I'm giving an opportunity to train and, you know, to get the experience I need. So if I choose to go out and get a job, I can say, well, I worked these 2 years. Because a
Yes.
lot of time when you are applying for jobs, they ask for experience, and you can't, and a lot of people won't hire you because you don't have
Yeah.
any experience. So it's like an endless cycle.
So you can actually offer your work last year and this year as,
Experience.
yeah, okay. You're a recent college graduate too, Liz? And did you look at it from the standpoint that T was talking about, as getting experience more practical than you get in college?
Yes, actually. It's definitely hands-on. You are out. I'm from upstate New York, and so I'm a national recruit. And being transferred from New York to Texas was quite a difference. And I've experienced a lot of new things down here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Besides the heat, what else?
Well, gosh, right offhand, I can't really think of anything, but there's a lot of music down here, which is wonderful here in Austin, and I've really enjoyed that so far. I mean, our tour is over in August. We'll be down.
Your Vista tour is, right? And 1 year assignment or responsibility that you have.
Commitment.
Yeah. Tell me about the particular aspect of the Austin Metropolitan Ministries. And one, I'll have to say, as I was introducing this, I became aware of the fact that the VISTA program, AmeriCorps, is a federally funded activity.
Yes.
And Austin Metropolitan Ministries is an interfaith, religious-based organization. Do you see any kind of tension between church and state issues in that regard?
No, I was asked this question last week when I went to Washington, D.C., and no, I don't really think so. I think the main focus we have here is to Austin Metropolitan Ministries Vista Coalition. We deal mainly with the housing and homeless. So I think our focus is on helping the people that are out there that need our help. So I don't think that the religion and the government has any conflict in it.
You're not out to convert people who
No.
are in the homeless conditions.
No.
You're out to help them practically.
Yes, out there to provide social service for them.
On this Sunday before the 4th of July, I think that's the kind of issue that kind of comes to mind as we think about the separation of church and state as being a great tradition in this country. We're not like Iran, where you got the Ayatollahs that kind of run things, but you do have a cooperative relationship at certain points where the government needs certain services performed, and in this case you have an ecumenical body that can help out with the homeless, as you mentioned. And you said you went to Washington. Did they call you back there to testify about this sort of thing?
No, there was a Vista Leader Conference, and I was asked to go there to do a sort of like a workshop and stuff like that
Oh, I see.
for the new Vista leaders that are coming on.
So somebody's going to take your place next year.
Yes.
Somebody like that would have been there.
Yes.
And I understand, by the way, that there weren't a whole lot of leaders called back to work with these leaders, that you were among a chosen few.
Yeah.
How many were recruited for that?
To go back to Washington, 3. There were 3 of us. Basically, it's the same 3 that went to the summit, the President's Summit for America's Future in Philadelphia in April.
Oh, okay.
So
That's President Clinton's calling for people together around the country on this matter of volunteerism.
Yes, focusing on the youth, for youth.
And you went to that representing, I think you were one of just a few from around the country on that. How many did you say from Vista workers went for that?
Well, there were 5 of us, and we were all Vista leaders, and we went to represent AmeriCorps Vista
Yeah.
for the conference as young leaders.
Well, congratulations on being selected in both of those instances.
Thank you.
And in the second half of the show, I'd like to come back to the matter of what that summit was like.
All right.
But first of all, Liz, I want to come back to something that we were talking about earlier in terms of which of the activities of Austin Metropolitan Ministries depend upon Vista workers, without whom these activities might not be in existence. Can you name those?
The majority of the Austin Metropolitan Ministries programs are run by Vistas as far as being program coordinators. The Community Mentoring Network at this point in time does have a volunteer program coordinator, and he is a Vista, and as does the Hands-on Housing program. It also has a Vista program coordinator.
So Hands-on Housing, Community Mentoring Network.
And also the Austin Metropolitan Ministries, their database of all the member congregations is updated by Vista also.
And it seems to me there is the same person that does that also helps with the Homeless Commission.
Yeah, she was also a key person in the cold shelters overnights during the winter.
During this past winter. Incidentally, each one of those programs we've had opportunity to feature since the first of the year. And I remember it was in the wintertime when we talked about that Homeless Coalition as providing churches where people who were on the streets could come and at least not freeze to death. And that was a very helpful kind of ministry.
It was nice too because at the end of it they recognized all their volunteers that
Okay,
helped out.
good. Well, I think that we want to do a little recognizing of some more of the results of these volunteer efforts as we come back to the second half. But we're going to have to pause here just for a few seconds, so you stay with us, and you folks stay with us, and we'll be back momentarily on this edition of Austin Faith Dialogue. So, they show. Welcome back to Austin Faith Dialogue, where today our subject is the Vista Volunteers to Service in America I think it's the abbreviation is for Volunteers in Service to America. I got that. Thank you, T. Hua, and thank you again for coming back with us, Liz Tillotson. We were talking in that first half about how the VISTA brings to mind a kind of a large, big picture scene of possibilities, and that therefore the work is among folks whose opportunities and vision might be limited. Mm-hmm. And you spoke about several of these services to the homeless. And as you've come to Austin, you've seen, T, I think, in a way that a lot of folks may not, who just live here, just how widespread this problem is. Have you got any sense of the numbers and the situation in Austin today as far as homeless are concerned?
I don't know the exact number, but I know that Austin has one of the highest homeless rate cities-wide within the United States. Not like the highest, but like maybe the second or third. It's up there. So I know that we do have a high homeless rate, and I think there are a lot of different social services that are out there that are helping the homeless people.
And I think the fact is that so many of these folks are not visible. I mean, you've got the ones who could be counted and identified, and then many that are just out of sight. And what is it that VISTA workers are doing to help the homeless? Just give us some examples of that.
Oh, for example, what you just mentioned, the City of Austin, they have a VISTA there that's working on the Anchor project. And
Anchor?
Yeah, which is pretty much like setting up computers in all these different social service center agency where they provide services for the homeless. And when a client comes in, they ask all these questions so that they can have an accurate count of the different homeless, how many homeless people are in Austin. And of course there's AMM, and then there's the Legal Aid for the Homeless, working with the job.
Legal Aid.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the homeless, working with a Job Plus program where they place homeless adult in permanent housing and job to get them out of that cycle. And it's like endless. It's 14 of us doing different things. So, but basically, it's just all dealing with the homeless and housing issues.
All right. Well, I think that the work just to identify how many are there, who these folks are, is a service in itself.
Yes.
And I think, too, that what you have as a person that is a resource development, is your line is to help fund this beyond what the government can do. Tell us what the money goes for through AMM in this regard that you've raised.
Austin Metropolitan Ministries has many different programs that the monies that I've raised go to, including the Community Mentoring Network, which is for first offense youth, where they pair them up with mentors from the community in order to help them to get onto the right track. And the Hands-on Housing program helps elderly, disabled individuals, low-income individuals, to stay in their homes by helping by repairing different things as extensive as a roof or sometimes just painting or things like that, depending upon what the projects can do.
Yeah, when we had the VISTA volunteer with Hands-on Housing on the show, she said that this is kind of a complement and coordinated with like Habitat for Humanity that will build a house from scratch, from the ground up, for a given family or individual. Whereas Hands-on Housing takes the existing homes that are in a deteriorated condition and need repair, and that they can cover, actually they can cover a lot more housing needs that way.
Right, and they also, the Hands-on Housing, by doing this, prevents premature institutionalization. For people, it helps them to stay in their homes. I mean, if your house is falling down around you, you know, and you can't afford to buy a new house, and you're elderly and you're not able to upkeep your house enough, a lot of times they'll put in individual into like a nursing home or any kind of institution. So that helps people to stay self-sufficient in their own homes.
Right. You've seen examples of that. And then you mentioned the mentoring, which is one of the big, maybe the biggest emphasis at the President's Summit, I understand.
Yes, that's one of the 5 fundamental resources that the summit was all about. The first one was a caring adult, which is a mentoring program, mentoring. I can't think of the word.
Youthful offenders.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I'm also a mentor for the Community Mentoring Network, and I've had this is my second time doing it. I mentored a 12-year-old last 6 months, and now I'm doing a 16-year-old this 6 months. So
I see. So you're actually not just coordinating the work of this particular phase of the Community Mentoring Network, but you're volunteering yourself in that regard.
yeah, I feel that since I am in the office and I don't really understand all these programs that all my Vista are doing. So it's best. I think it's best that I go out there and do the hands-on sort of thing, so I can understand what they're going through, and so I mean I can read it on paper, but it doesn't have full meaning unless you're out there and being a part of the program.
Yeah, sharing that work with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things is you're called volunteers. You have to live, you have to have a place to lay your head at night and some food to eat, and I was amazed to learn that the average Vista, I guess, or maybe just sort of a standard Vista stipend is something like $600 a month, which is barely enough to keep your head above water. And how do you cope with living on such a small amount?
You learn to budget. A lot of different things. Thankfully, I was able to find 2 also Vistas, national recruits, to live with, so that was I was able to share housing expense. You learn not to use the phone a lot, and you're just really learn a lot of budgeting. We do earn $600 a month, but at the end of your year of service, you're given 2 choices, and the choice that I took was the educational award, which is close to $5,000, either towards past loans or towards loans that you may take out.
Oh, I see, college loans. You can have, work those off in effect as you're doing Vista. Okay, well that's helpful.
And your loan is also deferred, which is really a great thing.
Right.
During your term.
Yeah, during your
Okay.
term.
I think that as you talk about the Philadelphia Summit, I think of the Liberty Bell. I think of, the 4th of July weekend, Independence Day, as we're coming up on that. And you've told me, T, that your home was originally in Vietnam.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about how you came to America and how you become naturalized and so on.
Oh, well, I left Vietnam in 1979 when I was 6 years old, and we were refugees, and my family and I were refugees, and a church from Alabama, a Presbyterian church, sponsored us over to the United States, and we stayed in the United States for about 6 years, and then we moved around, and then we ended up in Texas. I became an American citizen 2 years ago, 1995, and that's about it.
Right. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And I've had occasion to do the invocation at Naturalization Service. And I have to admit it's one of the most moving experiences that I've had, to see folks who have worked so hard to become part of this country and a dream fulfilled, and to tell us how you're feeling as a result of becoming an American citizen.
I think that it has given me a lot of opportunities, and that was the reason why my parents left Vietnam. I'm able to go to school. I'm able to do whatever that I feel like what I want to do. meaning career-wise, where I want to go studies, and if I can take time off and volunteer, and so like I said, a lot of opportunities to expand.
Yeah. America does mean opportunity, doesn't it?
Yes.
Right. And AmeriCorps, I can't think of anything quite more fitting for you who have become part of our land to be making a contribution in that way.
Yeah.
So we want to recognize and express appreciation for your special talent.
Thank you.
Liz, you were born, you said, grew up in Upper New York State.
Mm-hmm. Grew up on a dairy farm.
And you came to Texas because you were tired of the cold weather up there.
Yeah. Yep.
Any other more exalted motivations besides that to come to Austin?
When I was choosing which place I would go to for the VISTA program, I was given two choices from the states that I had picked. I had picked the southern cluster, and I was given the choice of New Orleans or Austin, and Austin just sounded safer. And then I was enticed by the music down here.
Yeah.
I was told there was incredible music opportunities, and that's true.
Well, I have to share with our viewers that I've had occasion to see you do country western singing. And did you develop that interest after you got here or before you came?
I was raised on country music, being raised on a dairy farm. My father said that the cows wouldn't milk to anything else. And so I've always enjoyed country music. And I've been, toying around with writing songs since I was real little. And I was able to do a demo tape before I came down here. And I've had occasions in different karaoke settings to sing. And in one of the karaoke contests, I actually won and was able to sing on a cable station.
Okay. And it's helpful to know that Jerry Jeff Walker, well-known country western singer, was also from Upper New York State. So you're in good company.
I'm not alone.
In the minute that we have left, just quickly tell us, what will you be doing, each of you, next year?
Next year, I hope to get a job with AmeriCorps, working hopefully in Washington, D.C., or getting a fellowship that I'm applying for to do research on social issues, or to research a project for the Corporation for National Service where AmeriCorps is under.
Okay. And what about you, Liz?
I've applied to work with a Head Start program in the Williamson County area, and
So you'll be staying around here then, hopefully?
Yeah, hopefully. And if that doesn't work out, I probably will return to New York for a little while.
Okay. Well, we hope that you all will go with our blessing for your great service to this community and to this nation on this Sunday before Independence Day. We want to thank you folks for looking in upon us, and may this 4th of July be a very special one for you. And peace be with you.